Good evening. This is Planning Commission meeting, City of Lockport for October 12th. Would everyone please stand for a pledge of the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kathy, could we have a roll call vote, please?
You got it. Wheeler. Here. Garland. Here. Maloney.
Here.
Oxley.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Likens.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 14th meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Deskin, second by Likens. Any questions or comments, changes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. Tonight we have a public hearing, a text amendment to the design standards for the City of Lockport. We'll let motion to open the public hearing, please.
So move.
Moved by Maloney, second by Wheeler. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Lance?
That'll be me. Thank you, Chairman. This is really a continuation of the conversation that we had at our last meeting. You had all received the full design guideline and recommendations. I had requested that if you had any suggestions or modifications or thoughts that you wanted to share in between that meeting and our public hearing tonight, that you could. I did not receive any, so I am feeling comfortable that everything can move forward as presented. But just to give an overview of what we're doing here for the public watching on TV and in the audience, the goal here is to basically update our city design guidelines. That'll become a part of our zoning code. The intent is to support flexible guidelines and criteria while also maintaining a quality product and focusing on the design of things, not just the materials. We want to clarify application includes infill development and provide additional guidance related to vinyl siding and architectural character. We now include multifamily standards for our future downtown development as downtown continues to improve. We remove the minimum home size requirements and improve the graphics and images throughout. A lot of the other information is very consistent with what was there before. There have not been a lot of other changes outside of what I mentioned already. But those are the items that are primarily being looked at to change. There are three sections that go into this. Appendix B and Appendix C are the actual design guidelines document that cover residential, industrial, and commercial design guidelines. Appendix A is specific to the exterior building materials, and that covers both residential and commercial and industrial. And these are what is currently in Appendix A and what we are recommending to modify and change, all of which was the same as what you saw at the last meeting. So with that, I'll open for any questions or comments that you all might have as a part of the public hearing and go from there.
Okay. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none. Members, commissioners? Any questions, comments?
Just for the record, the notice of the public hearing was published, and that will be entered into the record when this is forwarded over to the City Council.
Correct.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
The motion will basically be to, recommend approval of the modifications to the design guidelines in Appendix A, B, and C as recommended.
Yes. Okay, hearing none, motion to close the public hearing?
So move. Second.
Moved by Maloney, second by Deskin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, what's your pleasure? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Aaron,
Second.
second by Garland. Questions, comments? Roll call vote, please, Kathy.
You got it. Wheeler. Yes. Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. This will go to City Council at what date, Lance?
November 4th? Had to ask.
4th. No, 3rd, I think.
November 3rd.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, we have a concept plan under new business for residential. It's basically on the northwest corner of Oak, Briggs, all the way to Farrell to Bruce Road. It's not a public hearing. We have people here, I think, want to speak on it, which is fine. We'll be limited to 3 minutes. Please don't be repetitious. If you have a spokesman for the group, that's fine, so we don't keep hearing the same thing. And Lance, go ahead.
Okay, this is PZC case 2021-011. This is a concept plan for 183 acres, 645 unit residential community for the property generally located where the chairman said it was. Just as a reminder, a concept plan review provides an informal pre-application process to assist an applicant's appraisal of the feasibility of the development according to the comprehensive plan, other development policies, and our zoning code. The process encourages discussion of basic interests, concerns, and questions related to the proposal prior to the development team or the applicant incurring significant expenses related to preliminary and final development plans. This also allows for citizen participation to assist the developer in the city in defining the conditions under which the future changes to the land, as well as the drawings and things that come after this, occur. And approval of the concept plan does not guarantee approval of the project, but it does give reasonable assurance to the applicant that if the final plans stay consistent with what was approved at the concept plan level, final plans will also receive approval. Location-wise, the area bounded by the red box on your screen is the project area. Bruce Road is to the north, Oak Avenue is to the south, Briggs Road is to the west, and Farrell Road is to the east. It's 183 acres. The history on this is it began as Fox Hollow in 2007, never got started. Developed as Hidden Lakes in 2011. They did construct a portion of the plans. There are some stormwater areas out there, as well as the road that leads to the church that is located along Briggs Street. And then that went defunct as well, and it hasn't been developed since. There was a concept plan that came forward by a different development group in 2018 that was withdrawn. And today we have before you a new concept plan for Serenity Landing. We're continuing with that name, and that's what's in front of you tonight. The Hidden Lakes approvals have all expired, so in essence, this is kind of like starting from scratch. So there will be a new development agreement, new annexation, revised annexation agreement, and that we'll be renegotiating a number of those different components. Part of that as the project moves forward, if you and the City Council so desire. From a zoning standpoint, the current map that we have, which is not reflective of the map that's on the wall, we need to replace that. The current map reflects the Hidden Lakes approval. So in Hidden Lakes, there was R1, R2, C2, and O2 located in the property. The request is to rezone to R1, R2, R4, and C2 to accommodate the development. From a comprehensive plan standpoint, this is consistent with the plan. In fact, the layout that you see on your screen there in the comprehensive plan is fairly consistent with what the applicant is looking to do now. The road network on this actually reflects the Hidden Lakes plan, as does some of the property boundaries that you kind of see back from when that was originally starting to get platted. Additional information will be provided by the developer here in a little bit after my presentation. From the concept site plan, the overall density is 3.3 units per acre. There is a reduced amount of commercial. There is 60 acres of open space, and generating based on the numbers that we use as a part of our school consulting services kind of chart that we use to estimate students, it would have 220 K through 8 students added to the school district and 85 high school students. Both school districts have met with the applicant and us to review the plans as well as discuss those numbers with the school districts. Both have submitted letters that were in your packet for review tonight. One item that I do want to cover, because I know it's always a question when things are modified, is the reduction in the amount of commercial space. and I actually alluded to this on the comprehensive plan. As we've gone through, both the applicant as well as internally through the city, have looked at commercial development and where it is likely and how likely it is to happen over the next 10, 15, 20 years in some of our low-volume corridors. This is one of those locations that is challenged. And, you know, as we looked at the depth that was originally planned for this, it was originally planned for a big box with outlots. And as many of you know, big boxes are not developing anywhere these days, and you know their future is limited. And even those big boxes that are developing are shrinking their footprint sizes. And so we had a number of conversations with their market analysts as well as internally here. We recommended that they adjust the plan to reflect some additional outlots out there, but not the full depth for mid-box and big box type of commercials. So that's why you see a slight shift in the plan as to where some of those comp plan areas show in the pink on your screen, as well as where they occur on the zoning map as well. From a best practices standpoint, really what aligns with our comprehensive plan, we've worked with the applicant extensively on the site plan. We like the walkable blocks. They're short distances, make for good routes and circulation. There are a variety of housing types, which actually goes to another component that we had done related to the infrastructure. There are significant amounts of open space, and most importantly, the parks that are created are accessible to the residents that are in the neighborhood. Significant view corridors for everybody who's entering and exiting the property, as well as coming into key locations on it. A highly connected and accessible trail and path connection throughout the entire development. And we've right-sized the commercial as I talked before. We're still working on a couple things: the arrangement of the townhomes, the apartment neighborhood layout and relationships, commercial outlots, and where those will be located, product alignment with the examples that were in the project narrative, and Oak Street connections and where those ultimately occur on the plan. Still working through some of those things. Doesn't really impact the concept plan per se, based on the uses and the general organization and things like that, but they are details that we want to continue working with the applicant, and I know that they're going to reference some of that in their presentation tonight as well. As you can see up in the upper right-hand corner, you can see the site data. It's basically 183 acres total site area. Stormwater management is about 21.4 acres. The creek corridor adds about 31.5 acres. 7.5 acres of park, both in the center park, but also the two neighborhood parks that would serve the north community as well as the east community. There, about 223 single-family dwelling units, 134 townhome dwelling units, and 288 apartment dwelling units, for a total of 645 total. Architectural style, these are just comparable images that the applicant has provided us. We don't require that they do full architectural drawings for a concept plan phase submittal, but we do ask that they provide comparable imagery for the quality level, the materials, and things like that that they expect to build on the development pad itself. And a couple things, obviously this property has been in front of the Plan Commission and City Council on numerous occasions in the past, and we have certainly heard many of those different comments. I'm sure that we'll hear many tonight as well, but I did want to review a couple things that we have asked the developer to think about and contemplate that have come up in the past. We've requested them to investigate glare and foot candle approaches that minimize light trespass over the property lines. We requested that they provide additional landscape buffering and landscape depth to the south, adjacent to Oak Avenue. We requested that the developer consider horse accommodations either on-site or off-site. We will review construction activity considerations during the next phases once we get into preliminary and or final development plans. That's really where those come into play, as well as the phasing of the project and things like that. And then we also studied the infrastructure impacts to the city so that we had a really good holistic understanding for the project and really what it meant to the city, as well as what it meant to the other taxpayers and the residents that could live here. Which brings us to the infrastructure summary. This was a document that was sent out to all of you, reviewed at the last Committee of the Whole meeting with the City Council. Basically, in summary, what this was intended to do was it was, as a part of our Strong Towns mantra from the competition that we won last year in the organization's kind of principles about understanding the impacts of infrastructure and development before you take them on. Just getting a better handle on what that means, what it means to the taxpayers, what it means to the city, and what it means to our maintenance and long-term care of our streets. We teamed with the developer to study the revenue impacts and the cost impacts for all the infrastructure in the entire development, both the water, sewer, all the utilities, as well as the streets, sidewalks, lights, and parkways. The developer hired an independent consultant that worked directly with our senior staff, both Brent in Public Works and Lisa in Finance, myself and Ben at City Administration, to come up with costs and revenue measures that were accurate to the city's real, what we're seeing on bids, what we're seeing in tax revenue, all those things, so that it was a city-focused data information or input. Basically, what we found is that overall this development is balanced, but land use is really important. The single-family only areas will cost the taxpayers more than they generate in revenue. There's a deficit of about $3.6 million over the 60-year time horizon that we studied. Townhomes will cost taxpayers more than they generate, about a deficit of $440,000 over 60 years. And the apartments will generate a surplus revenue, about $5 million or $5.8 million over 60 years. So that's why I say land use is important, because that land use, the apartment land use, is really what helps mitigate some of the challenges, financially at least, that the infrastructure gives to the city on a development basis. And I shared this with the City Council. Really what's important to think about in the big picture of this is this isn't just a study on this single development. This is to give us a better understanding for what this means across the entire city. So I was chatting with one of your members earlier today just about, if you think about every development that's been built in the last 20 to 25 years, these numbers impact them 20 years from now. So as those streets age, as those things start to need to be replaced in year 45 and year 50, these kinds of numbers are impacting all of those single-family neighborhoods that are in the city right now. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're planning for those now, today, so that we can be better prepared when those things start to come due. And it's an issue that is consistent across the landscape of the suburbs. So this is not just a Lockport specific thing. This is consistent in Plainfield, Romeoville, name your favorite southwest, west, northwest suburb, and they're all going to be dealing with the same issue, but we felt it was important for us to study the data and really look into it. But I will say that there are other reasons to approve a development, even if the revenue components don't support it. It may accomplish a strategic objective. It may improve parts of the community that strengthen our community as a whole. It may align with our comprehensive plan in a way that we really want it to happen. It diversifies our housing products in a way that's beneficial for the overall community. And it creates an incentive for other types of land uses to locate there that may benefit the capital funds and other things even more in the future. So that's kind of a summary of the infrastructure study that we did. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant, and they are going to run through a couple different items as well.
Hello. Thank you very much. Appreciate you listening to us today.
Could we get your name?
I'm sorry.
And just your business address.
My name
is
is Jim Hughes, Hughes. I'm with Next Generation Development. We are co-developers of the property. With me tonight, I have Bob Gudmundson from RWG Engineering. He will be the civil engineer for this project. I have Mike Shoppy from Shoppy Design and Carrie Hansen from Shoppy Design, Carrie will be handling the bulk of the presentation. She's a lot smarter than I am anyway. We again thank you very much for the opportunity to appear for you. As Lance alluded to, we've been working with staff on this for in excess of 6 months. So we've done a lot of work on getting to where we're at today, and what we're looking to hopefully get is a recommendation that we're in the right direction with this, and that we're moving in the right direction, and we will continue to work with senior staff and get input from them and from the neighbors and everybody else, which I've already talked to about 4 different neighbors. So we look forward to the opportunity here. We think it's a great community, great opportunity. As Lance said, we talked to both school districts, got a letter of recommendation from them, talked to the Park District. So we've gone through the checklist, we think, fairly diligently here, and to get to this point today and hopefully continue to move this forward. That being said, I want to turn it over to Carrie Hansen, who will do the actual presentation for us. And as I said, she'll do a lot better job than I would have done, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's entirely not true.
Would you please state your name?
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, your name?
Carrie Hansen with Shoppy Design, Carrie with a C.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Lance. We wanted to talk a little bit more about why we're here this evening and what we're hoping to achieve with this concept plan review. Again, very high-level, informal input from the Plan and Zoning Commission this evening, and then ultimately with the City Council. We want to do so prior to spending significant and considerable time and expense on more detailed plans. It's also a forum for interested parties to express their views regarding the potential development. And then, based on the input we receive through this process, we will decide whether or not we're going to formally pursue the project through the next stage. Staff has given a detailed overview of the plan and the plan specifics. As a team, we'd like to touch on the project highlights, the overarching themes, and how our project relates to the goals of the comprehensive plan. So let's talk about those project highlights and kind of the overarching themes. From the beginning, the design of this project, the emphasis has been on the inherent natural features and the open space amenities of the property. 60.4 acres, or about 33% of the site, is allocated to open space. A combination of creek corridors, public parks, and stormwater management areas create engaged street views and sight lines from various vantage points throughout this project. At entrances and through the neighborhoods, there is an intentional engagement of the open space, literally from one point entering the project to where you would exit on another side of the project. These view sheds in the corridors are visible from east to west and from north to south. The open space visually and physically connects those corridors, and additionally, those spaces serve as focal points and gathering areas for the various neighborhoods within the project. There are increased buffer yards with this plan along the perimeter street frontages that range from 30 feet to 70 feet. Specifically, Bruce Road has a 30-foot setback, Briggs and Farrell both have 50-foot setbacks, and along Oak Avenue, there is an increase from the previous plan, which showed 30 feet, which now ranges from 50 to 70 feet along the south property line. There is an interconnected trail system throughout the project that links the neighborhoods and the passive and active open space areas. And those corridors also serve as meaningful transitions between the varying densities of the neighborhoods and the different product types in the development. We know the city recently approved a new comprehensive plan back in August, and we wanted to touch on how Serenity Landing specifically addresses the goals of your new plan. There are a number of policy recommendations in that plan, and we're going to highlight those which we feel are addressed with our plan. First and foremost, providing a variety of housing opportunities. We have 3 distinct housing options in one community, and that community obviously being Serenity Landing. Another goal is to develop linear parks along stream corridors. As noted, this is an integral part of the design of our plan. Encourage private preservation of open space. There will be a significant amount of the open space in this plan that is going to be maintained by private entities and homeowners associations. Coordinate open space and recreational needs with other agencies. We plan on reaching out to the Forest Preserve District of Will County and engaging them to partner with us with the regional aspect of some of the open space that we have in this plan. We feel there are significant opportunities for us to partner with them, and we will look forward to those conversations. Protect areas of unique natural features. Obviously, we're talking about preserving that creek corridor. There are also wetlands associated with that creek corridor, which will be preserved as a design element of this plan. Use natural drainage patterns for stormwater runoff. This is absolutely the way that we are designing the engineering for this project, and that will be an important part of how we proceed. There are significant policy recommendations relative to transportation infrastructure and land use, which we feel we address. Discourage the use of cul-de-sacs. We think we've done that pretty well. We have 0. Separate vehicular and pedestrian circulation. We have an extensive interconnected system of trails and walkways that are separate from the street network that allow people to move from neighborhood to neighborhood. Implement the city's bicycle master plan. We absolutely will include any elements of that plan as requested by staff. Manage road maintenance expenses. As Lance mentioned, we've prepared a financial forecast model that demonstrates that our development covers the costs of these types of expenses over time. Provide parks within pedestrian range. We have parks and private amenities for each of the neighborhoods, as well as a centralized public park for the entire project and all of the neighborhoods to congregate. Use higher densities near major thoroughfares. The location of our multifamily is adjacent to Briggs Street at the intersection of Briggs and Oak to do exactly that. Encourage quality private development. It is absolutely our intention to be an asset and a beneficial addition to the overall Lockport community. We'd like to go over our responses to the staff comments that you found on the concept plan in your packet. They're a little hard to read. They're those little blue comments. And so I'd like to paraphrase those to the best of my ability and then provide you with our responses. Starting kind of at the upper left or the northwest corner of the project, there's a comment that speaks to the eyebrow in the street design over there, that if it doesn't exist, staff would like it removed. It actually does exist. It was one of the few improvements that was installed with the original plan, and as such, we would like to retain that as part of our street network. Kind of moving counterclockwise around the plan with the comments. The next comment has to do with the townhome layout and the building orientation concerns that staff has. Until the product is confirmed, the way that we're laying this out is simply an idea of how it could be. Once we know whether it's a front-loaded or an alley-loaded, rear-loaded product, we absolutely can focus a bit more on how those buildings relate to each other, and we'll work with staff in order to accomplish that. Moving along, the next comment just south of that asks if we can flip the dog park with the clubhouse. We absolutely can, and we will. Lance mentioned the request to bring some commercial back into the project along Briggs. We certainly will incorporate this. Again, it's a smaller size than what was previously included in the plan for the reasons that Lance has mentioned and the changing nature of brick and mortar commercial retail. And we feel that this is going to be more of a neighborhood focus, servicing specifically the residents of this development and the adjacent area. Staff made a similar design request relative to the apartment area, relative to the building orientation. We did want to point out that the sample projects that we submitted and noted in our application were not necessarily intended to be the exact same type of product that's going to be proposed here. And again, that's something that's in development, in flux. and yet to be defined. However, we will work with staff once we are more definitive in terms of what that architecture is going to be. Is there going to be parking on the first floor? You know, how does that relate to the circulation? And then the opportunity of redesigning the commercial will give us the ability to shift some of those buildings around to address this comment. Moving east along Oak, I think the next comment has to do with clarifying what the minimum offset between streets is per the city code. Our research showed that that is 125 feet is the minimum. We're right at about 100, so we're a little shy there. We absolutely will revise that to make sure that we are meeting the city's minimum standard. The next comment has to do with flipping the clubhouse and the parking for that clubhouse facility close to that intersection and by the middle park. We will do this as well. The reason we showed it the way that we did is that we wanted to align that entrance to the parking lot with the street on the north side of that intersection so that we would create a nice T. However, because we're going to be redesigning that with the offset, we think that we can tweak that a little bit and flip those as well. The next comment has to do with the access points along Oak for the single-family area. Generally, for traffic operations, we like to limit the number of intersections on the perimeter and collector road system. The design that we've come up with incorporates a very well interconnected internal street network, enabling travel in any direction from any of the neighborhoods. So if you're on the east side, you can easily get to Briggs. If you're on the north side, you can easily get to Oak. However, to address staff's concern, we will be doing a traffic study if we proceed to the preliminary phase, which will help guide and inform us as to the exact location of those external access points and make sure that we are providing a safe level of service and operations at each of those intersection points. The next couple of comments are pretty minor. Facing homes on primary routes, you'll notice that there's a trio of single-family lots sort of in the northeastern section there where the facing of those has been reoriented. We're perfectly fine with that. And the last comment is relocating the park in the single-family area so that it is adjacent to the open space corridor and more centrally located in that single-family neighborhood. And we are absolutely fine with doing that as well. In summary, we've reviewed staff's report and have no issues with the 7 conditions that are recommended in their proposed motion. As such, we would respectfully request your positive recommendation for the Serenity Landing Concept Plan. We thank you for your time and consideration, and we're available to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Carrie. We're going to change this up a little bit and we have 3 residents that have registered to speak. We'll call them forward so they can speak, and then the commission will talk about this. The first one is Susan, right? I can't read the writing.
Beveridge, I believe.
Okay.
Can you spell that for me, please?
We'll ask her
Can't
to.
read the hymn.
Okay, sorry about that.
We'll ask her when she comes up.
Good evening. Would you please state your name and address?
My name is, technically it's Dr. Sue Ann Curtis Beveridge.
Okay.
So, and it's so long, sometimes I use one last name of the other. It's easier that way.
I thought I knew what it was, but I wasn't sure. I didn't want to.
That's right.
And your address, please, Sue?
And I probably scribbled, so that was my fault.
I'm not saying.
So, I've been involved in the community, and it's a horse community that you want to site your property. There are 2,000 horses surrounding it, and about 50,000 horse people surrounding the same area. So Oak and Farrell are horse trails. You can't have a lot of traffic, and most of the owners of Oak and part of Farrell, we own to the center line of those roads. So we have many horses. I personally do not ride in the roads. Lots of other people do, because if you go down Farrell, that is the county horse trail. There's just now a big new property, 50 acres maybe, at Farrell and Roseland for horse communities. So the properties have all been subdivided. It happened within a year, they're sold. And around each property is a horse trail. There's a big demand for that. So our view was, why not continue that kind of thinking here? Don't think like city people or people from Romeoville or Plainfield. Think about what's local and what the local people want and what keeps drawing them in. There are 3 new barns have gone in the last 2 years. Another barn is on Farrell, and it's very well funded, and it deals with disabled children. It's very well known, and the people that teach there are trained instructors, so I'm told. And when you're dealing with adults and children that are disabled, even it is a mental benefit as well as a physical benefit. So that's happened. So the horse community has grown a lot. We were involved in the survey 5 years ago, so you now may have 2,500 horses, maybe even more. A lot more riders have moved in. And you need to think about, where does this fit in? And, oh, well, they can drive on Oak. Remember, Oak is kind of part ours too. How do we keep the traffic from hurting the horse riders? And then you add to it, what do you need in a horse community? No light at night, so you're talking about 3-story buildings. Put up a big berm. Put a berm up enough that when horses look out and people look out, they don't see light. Because actually, you can end up killing a horse doing that. And the city of Lockport tampered with a street light and did kill our horse. Within 2 months, she was dead, because you can't have them stand in light all the time. You can't do that. So there are a lot of things that need to be done, and I think it is communicating with the community where you're trying to insert a very urban environment in a rural environment. You got to meet with the people and you got to talk to them and find out what works and what doesn't. And that's my comment. If we can help, we're willing to. The horse community is very, very active and growing, a lot more than I'm even aware of. And you need to pull that into your planning. Also, with that many people, how do you, geez, I have stallions. What if some little Yahoo kids there runs over and crawls through our fence or cuts our fence open, and the stallion eats them? Everybody that lives in a horse community would never do that. So what are you going to do with the people that live there to make them understand what a horse community is about? And that everybody then gets together. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Carl Biebrich.
Good evening. My name is Carl Biebrich. I'm Sue's husband. I have a little different view on some things than she does from time to time. I will give this a little different focus. I look at, by the way, my address is 17551 West Oak Avenue, so you can write that down for the record. I look at this plan and I see something that isn't fundamentally different from the previous incarnation of Serenity Landing, all right? It is positioned in such a way that it's looking away from the surrounding community. Everything is focused in on this little subdivision, all right, but it's being built in the context of a wider community that I don't think that it's fundamentally taking into consideration in terms of how it fits into that wider community and what the needs of the wider community are. There are some things that drew my attention during the presentation. One of them is the lure of money. The multifamily residential units, the 3-story apartments, which, as far as I know, do they exist anywhere in Lockport at this point in time?
Yes, they do.
So you guys are moving in that direction, all right? Is that the idea? That is something that killed the previous incarnation, all right? And brings a level of density to this housing development that is not compatible with the surrounding area. It was mentioned that there currently hasn't been any traffic study done. The impacts to local traffic are going to be significant from this level of housing development, and it seems to me before you can make an appropriate decision with regard to whether to move forward on this, you need to have some statistics on that. The 5.8 million payback over 60 years is an enticing lure, and I can understand how, from a business perspective, you might be lured to that, and how it contrasts so sharply with the townhome deficit of $440,000 over the same period. I don't know how those numbers were generated. I'd like to see the data upon which they're based and so on before I made a decision about what to do with this concept moving forward. This is going to have a dramatic effect on the surrounding area, and I don't think all of it is as positive as has been presented at this point in time. So as a local resident, I'm very much concerned for the adverse impacts that it's going to bring to the area as a whole, the surrounding community, not just what it'll do for City of Lockport in terms of tax revenues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next on the sign-up sheet to speak is Gary Albright.
Hi, I'm Gary Albright, 17035 West Bruce Road. I'm probably the most impacted on this project. I own the 40 acres that's kind of right on the side of the houses and on the side of the houses.
So you're the
I'm sorry?
eastern part, on Bruce Road, you're just east of this development, Gary?
Correct. I'm east of it. I'm the 40-acre square right there.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. My biggest concern is going to be trespassing. When I was a kid, woods. Let's go in the woods and play in the woods. So I've got a lot of woods. Probably 15 acres of my property is woods. I'm a big hunter. I hunt my woods. I shoot my woods. I do a lot. And we're an equestrian farm. So we have 20 horses on the property. We're a breeder. We breed horses. We train horses. We sell horses. The impact of this will probably be huge for us, but I understand something has to be built on this. This is just a little too dense for me. But that's your guys' decision, not mine. My biggest concern is getting a fence put up to divide me from the property. And actually, I talked to Mr. Hughes about, Jim Hughes about that, and he, I guess, agreed to put something up for me. I had a fence there at one point. One of the developers took it down and said he was going to put up something nicer than what I had. Never happened, fell through. So here I am today without a fence. We have two internal fences so our horses can't go anywhere, but I'm trying to keep people from coming in, not coming out. Just personal liability and everything else. You know, somebody comes in, they don't know horses, they come up behind it, you get kicked in the head, it's gonna be my fault. You know, so that's the biggest thing for me is just the impact of the trespassing. You know, what you guys decide to build up there is up to you. To me, the apartments, that's not for me. But that's your guys' decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, we'll turn this over to... Come on up. Come on up. If you would please state your name and address.
Sure. Hi, my name is Zenon Arendovich, and my father here owns the southeastern section right below where the Serenity Landing is proposed.
Could we get the spelling of your last name?
Yeah,
Oh, you got it.
it's
Okay,
A-R.
you got it.
Correct,
Okay,
yes,
yep.
yes, okay. So as you can see, like that's where we were located, and we are kind of in a pre-concept plan development, and when we were made aware of what what Mr. Hughes was putting up, and really we were just setting out here to kind of request if you guys do go through, we would be looking to see if you could install an opening towards where the, I want to say where it is curved. I have other copies for the rest of you guys here, if you'd like to see where I pointed out where the... Oh, perfect. Oh, then I don't need to print these.
You got it.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So, because we are kind of in the early stages of proposing this like neighborhood center and solar farm that we had done pre-application reports for and basic studies through ComEd, and that is why we are just basically requesting to add a new entrance over there. I want to say that I appreciate what the horse community here is speaking out, and one of the issues that comes with these solar farms is also trespassing, and so that would be an issue. I feel that education is extremely important, especially if something like this comes by. The kids there, me for instance, would be doing the same thing like you had said. And one of the things that I think might be important here and might be able to piggyback off of what yours is the idea that the solar farm and educating students on renewables could coincide with the local community and kind of support the community, kind of let them know like, hey, the horses are here, hey, these renewables are here, please don't destroy our things. So with that being said, I leave that to you guys to look at, and that's really about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Adolfo Arias. I live at 2221 Farrell. I'm just directly north of the project.
Yeah,
I just have four
Sir,
concerns.
could you spell your name again?
Adolfo Arias,
Okay, spell. it's spelled-
Arias,
Okay.
Adolfo. 2221 Farrell Road. I have four concerns here.
So where is your property in conjunction with this?
I'm directly north between Bruce and Division.
Okay,
So that's
on the
where
east
I'm-
side of the road?
Correct. So, the first one is the density. I've been following the Fox Hollow I agree, and I thank you for wanting to invest in our community. It's a hidden jewel there. It's awesome. But the density Fox Hollow started off with less than 300 homes. Now we're above 600 homes.
Yeah.
Where, the density is just like triple. Am I wrong here?
I believe so, yeah.
Where was Fox Hollow?
Fox Hollow was more than that.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I don't know the number, but
I think
it was
540 units.
548.
540.
Because now we have
plus all the commercial along Farrell
Yes.
Road.
Right.
It's all
so
commercial, Farrell and Oak, or not Farrell,
my
I'm sorry.
concern is the density that, you got to consider. And currently, at the moment, the infrastructure doesn't support this project, I don't believe. Division and Briggs, right now as we speak, is pretty bad. Farrell and Division, same concept. The infrastructure around the surrounding communities is not there yet. So that's two.
By infrastructure, you mean what, sir?
Roads,
Okay.
right? Three, the schools, right? Lockport is busting at the seams at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
They've seen the plans and they've agreed.
They are busting at the seams. I have children in that school. It's almost kind of unbelievable what they're doing there. But that density that you're wanting to put into the school system, that's pushing it. That's like, forget the other three concerns, just the school system alone concerns me greatly. And then the fourth one is, have you guys considered what's going to happen here with the Caton Farm extension?
Yeah.
So
Probably nothing. They've been talking about it for 60 years.
it's
They've
going to
done
come,
nothing.
but if you can please consider that, because I know there's residents in the community receiving letters already.
Yeah.
Right.
About a month ago.
Yeah, so, 60 years, 5 years, they're being told 3 to 4 years.
Who knows? Yeah.
I just want to be, warm and fuzzy that you guys are all aware of this.
Well, they've changed it since they started it anyhow, and it'll change again before they do.
I'm not against it at all, but those are my concerns. And, like I said, thank you for wanting to invest in the community, but I do live here. So those are my concerns for you guys to consider.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Just to clarify, Just to clarify on the school comment, this property would be in the Fairmont School District. We did meet with Superintendent Sapella and discuss the project with her and as well as the high school. And right now, Fairmont is roughly 50% from its capacity. And so there is sufficient space within the school as it currently stands to accept the total build-out of this facility. Now, obviously, you know, they will need to make some modifications and need to continue to plan for capital improvements, but that's a part of what our impact fees are intended to cover.
I think Fairmont has about 300 students and they have capacity for 700, 705.
Somewhere in there.
They're not
Yes.
even half full right now.
Right.
So, okay. All right, we'll turn this over to commissioners. What do you have to say? Comments, questions?
Can we have the petitioner respond to the comments from the public?
How about just wait and,
Well, it's public comment, so no.
we'll comment, any comments, they can respond to all of them at once.
Huh?
Thank you, Bill.
Right.
Anybody have any comments at this side? No.
I have a couple of
Hey,
comments.
hold up. We're going through here.
I didn't hear anybody.
Comments?
Oh, Darren, go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
I've been following this for many, many years. I was in the audience back in 2018 when the last time it came through. And so my comments to the horse community are really quite simple. It's been at least a decade that the horse community has had the opportunity to go ahead and purchase this property, to go ahead and develop this property for their purposes. But during that time, the horse community has continued to trespass on this property. I see them out there every single weekend. I see them multiple times during the week going up and down the roads. So it's not our responsibility to go ahead and protect the horse community's ability to continue to trespass on this property. So the question I have for the horse community is why didn't you all purchase this land at any time in the last 10 years?
Darren,
You
we don't
didn't.
want- we
So
don't- We don't want to start a debate. here.
there's no debate.
Yes, it is.
It's
Let's
there.
Let's get on with the subject.
That is the subject.
Let's go.
So, with Mr. Arendovich's proposal for an entrance, my only question would be here is where the proposal for an extra entrance, does that fall within our development guidelines for separation of streets? And
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we'll get into a lot of that during preliminary and final with the traffic study and deciding how far or close intersections can be from Farrell and Oak, essentially. That'll determine all of that, and I'm sure that we'll, discuss that request at that time.
okay. Okay, I'm done.
Scott, questions?
Do we know, Lance, do we know where this proposed project is in the entitlement
As
process?
far as development?
So
The
it is.
solar farm and
yeah.
the,
It's in the county, and it's outside of our municipal boundaries. So outside of just being notified about different cases that come through the county, that's about all the say that we have in any of those projects, so I don't really know. It sounded like the applicant has submitted or gone through some pre-application things with the county, but I don't really know for sure.
okay. My only other comments on the Serenity Landing proposal, just looking at some of the images, I know that these images aren't what you have designed or proposed. These are just other projects. Certainly, the detail that Lockport will expect, I think in this particular elevation, the farmhouse is fairly well detailed. Some of the other ones I have some questions on, slopes of roofs, things like that. The images of the apartment buildings, there was a mention of 3 stories. I'm assuming this would be 3 stories max,
Three-story walk-up max, yes.
Okay. I think, that's a good-looking, fairly well-detailed
Yes, it is.
apartment building. The one with the garages, I was curious, are you considering garages in the base?
We are considering some garages on the first floor. We're working with the parking regulations that Lockport needs, and we'd be working through all that, and that will be all part of, once we get a level of comfort that we're going in the right direction here collectively, then we will start with the big bucks, with the architects and the engineers, to get to where we need to, and the following up with the traffic studies and everything like that, yes.
Okay. And my last comment with the images, because I'm an architect, don't get paid that much.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry.
But my pet peeve is a sea of plain white garage doors is not attractive.
Those
and
are
I think,
strictly conceptual.
and I understand.
And
so,
duly noted.
But thank you for presenting these, and I don't think that I've got any other comments here. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Comments?
Oh, yeah, I did want to thank all the residents. It really is appreciated, all of your comments. Everyone does have a say, and that's why we're here, right? So thank you for that, first of all. I did have a question the only question I had was about the school impact, and I do agree. I'm happy with the responses that they've had. How detailed were you with the number of students and all that thing? Fairmont, I don't think is an issue based on capacity. The high school, I believe, Mr. Arias had brought this up as well, and just, it said 85 additional
I will let Terry
students.
respond to that.
And that's really the main question I had on terms of the study. I appreciate the extreme amount of detail for the financial component, and after looking at it, it seems like it makes sense, and why the apartments would be surplus and the rest of it would be. But yeah, my main question is just about the school, how those numbers are come about.
Sure. We actually use the city's generation tables, which are prepared by the Illinois School Consulting Service.
Okay.
So it is a widely accepted chart that separates it by unit type, number of bedrooms. It breaks it down literally to how many kids are generated from a typical two-bedroom apartment in preschool grades, in elementary school, junior high, and high school, and it projects all of those out. So we went through and took the type of units and our proposed breakdown. For example, we're proposing a 50-50 breakdown in 1- and 2-bedroom apartment units. That then has factors that carry out through the generation tables. And so when you come up with those total populations and you add them all up by grades, those are the numbers then that are separated between the elementary school students generated and the high school for the two separate districts.
Excellent. And yeah, I trust the superintendents would know that, and I think that's an important thing to clarify for the public, especially given some of the comments that we received tonight, and I wanted that to be kind of a little bit more elaborated on.
Sure.
And then, yeah, I had a lot of the questions were answered when we were going through with the blue notes on it. So I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Okay.
As a short little follow-up to the question, the high school is also going through a demographic study along with all the school districts, all the feeder districts as well, to better understand where populations are coming from, how populations are shifting, and how that's going to affect their enrollment in the coming 5, 10, 15, 20 years, just to have a better sense for that. And that's one of the reasons why Dr. McBride was really at the table, was to help us better understand how this development would impact that, and also how they would be able to accommodate it.
Did it indicate enrollment going down in the next few years at the high school, Lance, or?
I do not know. I have
Terry,
not,
do you know that?
have not seen.
I don't know that either.
I just wondered through attrition, was it going down, up, or where was it going to be? But they're comfortable with it, so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure, see the apartment area shows 288 dwelling units and 680 parking spaces, which is important. That was one of the reasons we had problems with the previous plan that was presented 2 or 3 years ago. If anybody that lives here is going to work, going to the grocery store, the dry cleaners, the beauty parlor, anything at all, they're going to get in their car and drive. So the 1-bedroom apartments will have at least one car per unit. The 2-bedroom apartments will have 2. I consider the parking to be adequate, given that the residents are going to have to get in the car and drive to just about anything at all. The previous plan showed a considerable amount of retail space on Briggs and on Oak, and I agree with staff's recommendation. The demand for retail is declined considerably. We don't need a branch bank or a car wash or a whole lot of other stuff there. I would like to see included space for maybe a convenience store, a White Hen, a 7-Eleven, maybe a Speedway station, something like that. If to where parents could send the 12-year-old over to the store to get something that they needed for the on short notice without having to drive somewhere. But I completely agree. The demand for retail just isn't there. We've got vacant retail space all over town. So does all of our adjacent communities. Even in Bolingbrook, where they can do no wrong, they've got vacant spaces up there. But I would like to see space allowed for a White Hen or a 7-Eleven type convenience store sometime. But yeah, okay. The rest of it, overall, I find quite acceptable.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just one thing. I don't know, some of the compromises between the horse community there and, someone that's looking to develop, I don't know, I'm just out of curiosity. I mean, I know it was brought up because it's previous comments and previous developments. This comp storage land up here, I don't know, perhaps maybe there's a nature trail or something like that that can be worked in, something just very general. I kind of in that north, I guess it'd be what, northeast? Yeah, I don't know, just a thought. I mean,
Commissioner Garland, is your mic on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you could speak to the mic.
Sorry.
Thank you.
There are trails that go all along that creek pathway system, so bike trails as well as other secondary trails that would link all the parks together.
I was just thinking more for the horse community, since it's something that they can utilize. I didn't know if that was something that was going to be integrated into the trails around the houses, just because there might be kids and it would be a challenging situation for small kids, horses. It's yeah, but I don't know, maybe something like that could be a designation up there. I don't know, just an idea.
Yep.
Janine, questions, comments? Nothing? Okay. Phil, my memory's coming back. Yeah, I believe it or not. This development actually is annexed to the south side of Oak Avenue, correct?
Annexed the south side of Oak.
The road to repair, the road.
No, we have prescriptive right-of-way on the south side. It is the north, we have, our right-of-way is on the north side of Oak Avenue.
Right.
Is prescriptive on the south side.
And the reason for my comment and question was during the previous, I don't know, which one was it, Lance? One of those developments, the horse community, instead of a blacktop walkway on the south side, they had requested a gravel riding path. And Attorney Kavanaugh was their representative, and they had agreed to that. I don't know if that's been discussed at all, Lance, or?
We have not specifically talked about the Oak Avenue cross-section at this point. We have provided the applicant with all the past information and what had been, discussed with the Hidden Lakes proposal. I will say that, from the 2018 summary, we did use this summary that the community put together. It's called Protecting Our Community, from the Oak Avenue Association. We did use this as somewhat of an outline to try and come up with some of the recommendations that we had provided the applicant, and other things that we'll continue to consider if this moves forward into the next phases.
Well, we're in a transitional area here between the residential, the horses, the agricultural, and all that, and maybe that can come somewhere down the line or look at it anyhow.
Yeah, absolutely.
As Matt brought up, something of a trail on the northeast corner, depending where that creek falls, the creek would be a dividing line if they went on the north side of it.
Sure.
For kids coming over there and stuff like that, they're still gonna wander over, but not as if it was right on that.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Lance, in the motion recommendation on number 3, this new special use permit for planned unit development will be required, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You don't understand will be, maybe? Clerk?
Okay. So what's your pleasure? Comment, questions, motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the concept plan for the Serenity Landing 640 unit residential development, subject to the conditions as outlined in staff's report 1 through 7.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Maloney. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
You got it. Wheeler. Yes. Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. New business, old business, citizens be heard. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Chairman's report, commissioner's report, staff report.
Yeah, just one item out there for everybody. On October 27th, we'll be having the first open house for the Chevron Star Business Park Master Plan. It'll be in the City Hall gym from 6:30 to 8. I'm going to send a flyer around to everybody probably tomorrow or Thursday that I'd like to ask if you could forward to all your friends and who might be interested or have ideas or want to participate or is interested in the outcomes. Again, October 27th, 6:30 to 8 in the City Hall gym.
Thank you, Lance. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, have a motion to adjourn. Motion by Wheeler, second by Garland. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good night. You just didn't know you talked.